Welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. I'm struggling today, man. I'm a little bit under the weather, not feeling too good, but I'm still here. I'm still here to give you all the entertainment you want. I'm here to have some fun today. I hope you guys are having fun as well. Always appreciate all the phone calls. So we're going to have a lot of fun this hour. Coming up here in just a few minutes, we're going to be speaking with Mike Babcock. He runs TMZ Sports over there, so I want to get the latest on this Patriots owner, Kraft. I want to find out what's going on with this plea deal. Last I heard, he's not taking a plea deal. That's going to be an interesting story. I want to find out what's going on. So Babcock will be joining us here in a few minutes, and then coming up at the bottom of the hour, we're going to talk a little UNLV hoops with former UNLV player Anthony Marshall. He was a great player for UNLV. He played under Dave Rice and Lon Kruger. I want to get his thoughts on what he thinks about this UNLV coaching search, and I guess that's what you call it, a debacle. It's not too good. But we were talking a little bit about immigration. We were talking about, it went into an immigration conversation, but I was focusing on the comments that Donald Trump makes on a regular basis, particularly ones that he made in regards to John McCain. And I was saying anyone who doesn't think those comments are a disgrace, you're a clown. And I got some pullback from that, and I'll take your calls. 257-5396, the number to call again, 702-257-5396. Let's start off this segment with JD. JD, thanks for calling in. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Sorry to hear you're under the weather. If you'll give me about 3 minutes, have a drink of your orange juice and take a cough drop and let me speak.
I'll gladly.
I don't think we'll get into an argument with what I have to say.
I will gladly let you speak. 3 minutes is a little long, but go ahead,
All
JD.
right. Well, let's get to it. There are approximately 900,000 illegals waiting for court appearances because of the backlog of our judges. What is needed in this country is a change and a revisit about all of our immigration laws going back to about 1986, which our politicians and our presidents from there on have never gone to revisit them and to change what is needed. I don't understand if you walk across the border or you come across an opening in the fence and I catch you, I'm a border agent, why I can't walk you right over to the gate and give you a kick in the butt and push you back over, and that's the end of it until you try and do it again. No, we have to process them. We have to bring them through courts. We have to do paperwork. We are now at over maximum, some of your callers, of places to put the illegals that are there and their family members. This is a need that has to be addressed immediately, whether you call it a national emergency or whatever. Every congressman and every senator practically and every president since they fooled Ronald Reagan in 1986 with 3 million illegals got amnesty has failed to address this situation.
Okay, hold on, JD. Let me interject here real quick. Stay on the line. You spoke about if somebody crosses the border illegally, why can't an agent just kick somebody in the ass and throw them on the other side of the border? Well, because, JD, this is a nation of laws. Okay, we can't do that. That's why there's paperwork. That's why there's court appearances. That's why, this is the reason for it.
Well, that's a boondoggle that we have to correct. I was using a euphemism, Brian. Don't take me seriously.
Well, I mean, what you say, I try to take you serious. I mean, look, if somebody I agree with you that it is an issue. It's a problem. I am for border security. I just do not define it the same way you do or some of the other callers do. No, I do not think it is a national emergency. 9/11, that was a national emergency. We got a hurricane.
When we have diseases, when we have people coming over, and now we have outbreaks of measles and polio and what have you, even here in this town, because of people coming across the border from Guatemala.
No, there's no proof of that. I'm sorry. JD, you're wrong. The idea that these illegals coming into this country are giving us all sorts of different diseases, there is no fact to back that up. That's not truthful. You're not being truthful.
You mentioned Amy Tarkanian stating that this terrorist bomber in New Zealand was
an environmentalist. Yes.
I'm sure she said more than that.
No, she didn't. No, quite frankly, she didn't. I have the tweet, and when Danny Tarkanian comes in, I will address it with him, even though he didn't say it. It was a disgraceful thing that she did. I have the tweet.
She said he was an environmentalist.
Yeah, that's it. It is disgraceful what she did. Let me ask you a question. Do you think the 50 people that lost their lives, do you think their families care if he was an environmentalist? Do you think that matters? Here's my problem with people like that, JD. And I'm not saying you're like that, but there are people like Amy Tarkanian. This is what they do. Okay? They don't talk about gun control. They don't talk about mental illness. They don't talk about what could or could have caused this guy to go nuts. They don't talk about the fact that he was a proven white supremacist. That part I don't care about as much as those other things that I mentioned. So what does she decide to do? She takes a right-wing talking point so she can continue to go on and make her right-wing talking points on TV. It is an atrocious thing that she did. It is disgusting, and it's right out of the Donald Trump playbook.
Could I ask you a personal question on a different I went out with a girl from Naugatuck, Connecticut, and I have relatives in Darien, Connecticut. And I've been trying to figure out ever since you've been on the air and said you were from Connecticut. You sound like a Naugatuck guy.
I'm not a Naugatuck guy. I am from the greater Hartford area. But that is a very good guess. I've been to Naugatuck before.
That's that was called the Valley. They were called Valley Girls back in the 70s.
Yeah, well, I called them something else back then, but we'll leave that one aside. But I'll tell you one thing, JD, I do not miss Connecticut. In fact, I hate Connecticut. There's only two places.
And my third guess was going to be the real rich town where the Newmans live.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
I figured
I'm not an elitist.
Your family is a rich Jewish family.
No, they're not. You couldn't be more wrong than that, JD. But I appreciate the call. Thanks for calling in. Absolutely not. I wish my family was born like the Trump family was born into. I wish I was a trust fund baby. I wouldn't be like Donald Trump, I'll tell you that. I wouldn't think I own the universe. Maybe everyone out there would call me a genius business person if I got a $400 million company and then I decided to turn that into maybe $1 billion. But we don't know how much money Donald Trump is worth, do we? No, we don't know. You know why? Because he refuses to show us his tax returns. That's why. All the inflated stuff that he put out there with Forbes about how much money he's worth, it's all nonsense. That's right. Our president is a fraud. How many times do I have to say it? He is no better than a used car salesman. I could picture Donald Trump wearing a suit and tie and say, I want to get rid of my 04 Hyundai Elantra. I could picture going into one of these used car dealerships. All due respect if you're a car salesman, by the way, because I'm sure some of you are very good. I'm not saying Donald Trump would be that guy. I'm saying I could see him with a suit who's trying to sell me a lemon of a car, and I would buy the car from him, and then it would break down a week later. I'd go back, and then Mr. Trump would say to me, well, I'm sorry you bought it. There's no returns, exchanges. And yet he sold the car. He made the car out to be, a brilliant vehicle that could go for 200,000 miles. To me, that's Donald Trump. He is that fraud used car salesman where you go to buy a car from. That's who he is. Only on a larger scale, and there's a lot more money at stake. That is my opinion on Donald Trump. 257-5396, 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to David. David, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Oh, doing great. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Sure.
Hey, I just want to let you know there are some of us out there who actually go both ways because, Democrats aren't my enemies and Republicans aren't my enemies and all that. For example, I voted for Donald Trump. I voted for Susie Lee for my district.
Mm-hmm. I respect that.
Yeah, I like that. I like what Trump is doing to my housing value. Right now, whether he has anything to do with it or not, it's happening under his watch, and I like what's happening with my house. I like the way that Susie Lee conducts herself and isn't some radicalized deal. She's level-headed and a steady thinker.
And David, I'm sorry I'm sorry, David, to stay on the line. Look, I respect people like you. I respect that. In fact, I respect anybody who voted for Donald Trump. I don't have a problem with any of you. Here's where my problem is, David. And I try to be, I try to be as fair as possible and as consistent as possible with my opinion. It's those people out there that voted for Trump that say he can do no wrong. They think he's a savior. They think he's the next Messiah. They think he's a brilliant businessman. He can never make a mistake. And when he says something dumb or extremely disrespectful or stands up there with a evil, murderous dictator and sides with them over our own intelligence, or when he, goes on and on rants about and attacks people on a daily basis or goes after war heroes, and when those people who voted for Trump can't admit that that is bad for the country and that it's beneath the presidency, those are the people that I have a problem with, David. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I can offer some insight just from my point of view. I'm what would be considered an evangelical Christian, okay, and not a Bible thumper or anything like that. Trump, I didn't vote for him because he's one of us. I voted for him because he's the pit bull at the gate guarding me, guarding my rights, okay? That because I'm just afraid or out of fear that the other side isn't respecting those rights or isn't leaving those rights alone as much as I would like. So that's how I looked at it on that particular issue.
Okay, I mean, that's fine. Again, I don't have a problem with that. I certainly don't feel the same way. I don't think he's protecting any of us. I just think he's out for himself. I think he's out for his own business interests. He's out for his own name, and he's out for his own family. I truly don't believe he cares about middle-class America. That's just my opinion. I don't.
Awesome. May I make one more comment?
Sure, go ahead.
My daughter is going to go to the Naval Academy, and she's going to have to walk past John McCain's grave every single day. And I know that there he is regarded as a hero, right? And I know it'll always be looked upon that way in my family.
Good. I'm glad to hear that, David. I really am. And I appreciate your call. Thank you so much. All right. We've taken a lot of calls on this issue, and trust me, we will continue to debate these issues when it comes to the president, when it comes to John McCain, when it comes to issues involving border security. Like I said, I give my opinions on this show. There's going to be plenty of people out there that are going to agree, and there's going to be plenty of people out there that disagree with me. And again, I don't have a problem with that. I just stated to you what my problems are. It's when he says disgraceful things over and over and over again, and you have so many people on the right, people like Lindsey Graham, who think it's okay. Those are the people that I have issues with. And don't get me wrong, folks, I have issues of my own, too. I don't have the issues, though, that Mr. Kraft has with the Patriots, that's for sure. Not to say I've never been to a massage parlor before, but I've certainly never been to a massage parlor where there was video surveillance. That's for sure. Joining us on the line with us right now, he does a great job, and they've done a great job covering this story. That would be Mike Babcock from TMZ Sports. Mike, how's it going?
What's up, Brian? How are you?
Doing good, my man. Always good to hear from you. And I wanted to start off with this Kraft story because it seems like, they go after it with this plea deal, right? I find it very funny that in the plea deal he would have had to have taken an STD test. I found that to be hilarious. But where has this story gone to now? My understanding is that Kraft has not taken this plea deal. Is that correct?
Right. It's a plea deal that was offered to Robert Kraft and, 14 other of the defendants who are facing similar charges. And as of now, he hasn't taken the deal. From people that I've spoke with who are close to him, it doesn't seem likely deal that he would take just because there are certain elements to it that he might find to be embarrassing. He'd have to take a prostitution class, whatever that is. He'd have to.
Mike, can I ask you? Can I ask you, Mike? What do you think they teach in a prostitution class?
I don't know. It's something I've been thinking about, Brian, and I don't know. I almost said it sounds like something that'd be a good time, but I wouldn't say something like that. But I don't think it's something that he would take. The only way that I could ever see him taking a deal like this is if the release of the tape was imminent, and by taking the deal, he somehow could suppress the tape from coming out, because I think that is the number one thing above all else that Robert Kraft cannot allow happen. He cannot have this tape that, at least according to officials, shows him twice go to this massage parlor and, have sexual acts performed on him.
What's amazing to me is they have this video clearly, right? I mean, I know people say, you're not guilty unless you're convicted in a court of law, but let's all just call it what it is. He's guilty. There's a video. He wouldn't be charged with this if they didn't have all the evidence. Why doesn't he just accept the plea deal?
I remember I was talking to his personal spokesperson, and I remember he gave a quote to me as soon as the story came out. He said, I'm going to fight this, essentially. And when I was repeating the quote a couple of days later to his personal spokesperson, I said, Mr. Kraft said he didn't do anything wrong, but they say they have a video. And the spokesperson's response to me was, he didn't say he didn't do anything wrong. He said he didn't do anything illegal. So it seems to me that they are going to use some type of technicality to say that he didn't break the law, and I think that's the ground that they're going to try to fight this charge on.
I just think that's completely ridiculous, and I think his attorneys are dragging this on. I think he should have just accepted the plea deal, and then everybody forgets about it, and everybody can move on. But that's just my opinion.
Right. No, You don't want this. Look, the football season is going to roll around in a couple months, and if you're Robert Kraft, your team just won a Super Bowl, do you really want the narrative, every Sunday to be, you going to see a prostitute in Florida in a Bentley, or just let it get, take the plea deal, move past it, and people will forget.
Yeah, here's what I think they should do if you're a smart business person. You open up a couple massage parlors right across the street there from where the stadium is, and you call it, I don't know what you could call it legally. I guess, I don't know, maybe get a sponsorship and call it the official massage parlor of the New England Patriots. I don't know if they probably wouldn't allow that. I just can't even imagine the business they would get. It'd be incredible. And maybe Kraft himself would show up. I don't know, but I don't know.
Well, I don't know if he'd show up, but he'd want to. Because the guy went the day of the AFC Championship game and then took a private jet to Kansas City.
He was obviously, maybe he was very stressed and very backed up, and he just needed some relief, and now he's certainly paying the price for it. If you go back and
look at the pictures, Brian, he looks so relaxed, and, with the benefit of hindsight now and knowing what happened earlier, you know why he was so relaxed that night.
Yeah, I don't. Hey, I'd be relaxed too. Don't get me wrong, Mike. I would be very relaxed as well. I understand where he's coming from. No pun intended there. But anyway, Mike Babcock from TMZ Sports joining us. Got a couple more stories, Mike, I want to get to. Let's start with Adrian Broner. Now, Adrian Broner has been on this show before. Nice guy, but I've always said never struck me to be the brightest bulb out there. Just didn't strike me to be a very intelligent person. That's just me, and he says a lot of dumb things, and he said a lot of dumb homophobic things in the past, and it seems like he's done it again. What do you got for us?
Yeah, I mean, just from a personal level, I feel the same way about Adrian Broner. He's come into our studio. I've talked to him a bunch of times, and I always found him to be a likable person, but I think here, and it's not the first time, but he's gone too far. He put up, for some reason, a post on social media, videoed himself making homophobic threats, threatening to shoot any gay person that were to come up to him. And it doesn't make any sense to me why he did it. So now this guy, Andrew Caldwell, who went viral in the past, he's the guy that, in that viral video said, "I'm delivered," and said he wasn't gay anymore. So this guy always seems to find his way, into the news one way or another. But regardless, we know the threats were made because we all saw and we heard them. And now he's filed in court for a restraining order, and the restraining order was granted. So now Adrian Broner isn't allowed to, come within 500 feet of Broner or of Andrew Caldwell rather, and he's not allowed to talk about him on social media. And they're going to both go before a judge at the beginning of April, and they're going to see if this order is not put in place permanently.
Now, I've always felt that Adrian Broner was sort of a wannabe Floyd Mayweather, but one thing that Floyd Mayweather did really, really well, besides box, was being able to promote his fights. A week, 2 weeks before a fight, he'd get his name in the news by saying something controversial. Does Adrian Broner have any fights coming up? Because if he doesn't, then this wasn't anything about getting his name out there in promotion, was it not?
No, I don't think it had anything to do with the fight. I think it was just Adrian being stupid and being homophobic. And the thing about Floyd wins his fights. Adrian hasn't won. I think it's been 3 fights since he's got a win. I think it's going to be hard for someone to put Adrian Broner, on their airwaves or promote a card with him fighting on it, especially when he's not winning. If you're winning, at least you make the decision hard because you draw eyes and people want to see you fight. But when you're losing fights and you're going to threaten the lives of gay people, then I don't even know if anyone's going to put you on their fight card.
I think it's pure stupidity. I think he's made a lot of enemies in this business, and he's not even a good fighter anymore, so I couldn't agree with you more. Okay, Mike, one more topic I want to bring up, and that is Kwame Brown. I guess a lot of people call him Michael Jordan's biggest disappointment as far as a professional player, but you guys caught up with him. And you guys were talking about the one-and-done rule, where he had some very strong opinions on it. Tell us what he had to say.
Yeah, if there was anybody who might be against or might be for the one-and-done rule, you'd think it might be Kwame Brown because in hindsight he probably could have benefited from a year or two in college. But he said that, the one-and-done rule is ridiculous, and if you can go out there and you can buy a gun, why can't you go make a living playing professional basketball, playing in the NBA? So he thinks the one-and-done rule should be abolished. I think a lot of people feel that way. I feel that way.
I agree. I agree with it 100%. Look, I think if you have the abilities or the talent, you should be allowed to do that. If you look at tennis players, for example, they become pro when they're 14, 15, 16 years old in some situations. Why should basketball be any different? Look, if there is an NBA owner or NBA scouts in a franchise that is willing to take a risk on someone, I don't even care if they're 18 or 17 years old, then who are we to say that they can't do it? I think it's completely ridiculous, and I don't understand
it feels un-American. No, it feels un-American to me. And look, there are going to be some guys who are going to make the wrong decision. For every success story like Kobe and KG, there are guys who failed. But that's just how it goes. So people will make the wrong decision. Sure, if you're a player, you got to try to make the best decision. And if you need college, don't rush into the NBA. But just to stop people, I think it's nonsense. And I really think what it's about is it's just about protecting veteran jobs in the NBA and letting these guys hang on and, get another NBA paycheck a year or two longer. But I expect within 2 years or so, by 2020 or so, that this rule will be gone.
I certainly hope so, Mike, because we are in complete agreement here, and I think most people are. It's so un-American, and I think if you have the talents, if you have the abilities to go to the NBA early, I don't even care if it's right out of high school. I think you should absolutely, positively, 100% be allowed to do it. Hey, Mike, good to hear from you, my man. We'll catch up with you again next week. Enjoy March Madness.
Thanks, Brian. You too.
All right, take care. Mike Babcock, TMZ Sports. Always appreciate it when he takes some time. Man, I am just coughing up a storm here today. But I do want to get to some hoops, and I want to get to some UNLV basketball. Have you guys been watching March Madness? Well, if you're a UNLV fan, here's the only good news maybe you've had. Besides Marvin Menzies getting fired, I think that was good news. The only good news maybe is that UNR got beaten up today in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Jordan Caroline was terrible. Caleb Martin had a bad game. And they are out in the first round of the NCAA tournament, and I'm a little surprised. And the reason why I'm a little surprised is I think that Nevada overall, when they're healthy, when they're playing well, they're a top 10 team in the country. I did feel that. But for whatever reason, the last few weeks, they have really struggled mightily. Jordan Caroline's been terrible. I think they take a lot of bad shots. And Florida was the better team today. And I got to give my guy Ken Thompson credit because that was one of his picks. He said Florida was going to win that game, and he was absolutely right. Nothing too crazy happening today as far as the NCAA tournament is concerned. I mean, there were a few minor surprises, but the bottom line is you don't have any. I mean, Michigan State was in a little bit of trouble today. They came back, they won. I mean, that could have been a 15-2 game where the 15 won. Nothing else too crazy today, nothing else nuts. But coming up next segment, this is going to be a lot of fun because I was a big fan of this kid and the way he played over there at UNLV. He was really a great player for them. He played under Lon Kruger, and he also played under Dave Rice for 1 year. You know, we had Justin Hawkins on the show a few days ago, former Rebel, because I wanted to get his opinions on the UNLV basketball situation. Anthony Marshall's going to be coming up next. So we're going to talk to him about this new coaching situation, the coaching search, what is going to happen. We'll get to Anthony Marshall and all that stuff coming up next. So we're going to take a quick break, and we will be back right after this, and we'll talk a little UNLV hoops with Anthony Marshall. So stay tuned for that, and also we'll take your calls a little bit later on in the segment as well. You're listening to The Vegas Take. Anthony Marshall coming up next on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDWN.